Now, America's favorite comfort food actually come from a French-trained chef who was enslaved, who cooked for presidents, but his name was erased from history. Now, most folks, they think Thomas Jefferson invented mac and cheese, but that's not true. And before this video's over, I'm going to show you that every bite of macaroni and cheese that has been taken comes from one man, and that is James Hemings. This is the second video in our America's 250 Years series, and we're going to spend the next few weeks telling stories of the food and the people that built this country, and sharing stories you've never heard before in honor of the upcoming 250th birthday of our great nation. And today on the menu is America's stolen recipe, macaroni and cheese. Hey, thank y'all for dropping by camp, and today we are making two versions of mac and cheese. But first, we're going all the way back to the White House, 1802, and a French chef, James Hemings, recreated this recipe from what he had learned in France to prepare it for a dinner there at the White House, and made it oh so special. So we're going to do his version, but also we're going to do a version similar to that, but cowboy it up just a little bit. And this would be a great dish to bring to your next family outing or your backyard barbecue. Now let's talk about old Thomas Jefferson, the president. You know, he gets all the credit for this mac and cheese recipe, but really it wasn't his. It was from his enslaved chef, James Hemings. Now, he was a French-trained chef who come over and made this dish, but you never hear about none of that. And today, I'm even gonna make pasta. I mean, I'm gonna get Italian. People will be coming from all over to eat pasta. But you think of macaroni and cheese today, and it is a little elbow deal, got a hole through it. Traditionally back then, no, it was made where it was just flat noodles. So that's what we're making today. So we're gonna start with 3 eggs, fresh from the hen house. In it goes. So we got our 3 eggs in there. Let's give them a little whooping. And one thing I found interesting when I was going back through James Hemings' recipe was one of his measurements for milk. Wine glass full of milk. Now, how big was wine glasses back then? I have no idea. I'm gonna start with about that much and we're gonna see what happens. Give that a little stir. We're going to add a little salt. And then it's time for some flour. Now, in his original recipe, I don't know how much pasta it was making, but he was saying 2 pounds of flour. Now, there's some for sprinkling and some for going in here. So y'all just going to have to stick around with me because we're going to have to figure it out. James ain't here to ask. So we're going to go by James's recipe, and we're going to soak these in a little cold water first before we start putting together the cheese sauce and boiling the pasta. So bear with me, folks. And when I thought you could be all right just to cut these together, it would have probably been better to separate them in the long run. James Hemings was born in Virginia in 1765 and into slavery. He arrived in Monticello as a 9-year-old boy, along with his mother and siblings. When the British invaded Richmond in 1781, it was James and his brother who took Jefferson's wife and children to safety. He wasn't just a cook. He was trusted with the people Jefferson loved the most. Jefferson sailed to France in 1784 to become America's trade minister. He brought Hemings with him for one express purpose: to become a French-trained chef, and Paris was the culinary capital of the world. Hemings trained in the finest kitchens in France, alongside the greatest chefs in the world. He was the first American ever to study French cuisine in France. Pretty impressive for an enslaved 19-year-old. 2 years into his time in Paris, Jefferson knew that under French law, Hemings was legally free if he simply claimed it. Hemings spent 5 years in Paris, years he could have walked away, but he came home. Whether out of loyalty or family, or because freedom in France meant leaving everything he knew, we'll never know. He was paid a wage, a rarity among enslaved people, but far less than the white chefs in equivalent roles. He cooked for presidents, diplomats, and the most powerful people in America, and history gave Jefferson the credit for every dish on that table. I really don't know what I'm doing digging around in this slimy pasta for sure, but I'm trying to follow James's recipe. It could have been a little more clear, James, if you could have said, hey, don't soak them this long, soak them this long, don't soak them at all. Hey, James, the pan's going to boil over. Now, the cheese sauce that James made, very basic it is. Now, he wanted to have Parmesan and cheddar, but Jefferson, he always insisted Romano and Parmesan only. Hard cheeses kept longer back then, but sometimes James had a hard time keeping all this stuff in the kitchen. So today we're just gonna make us a little flour roux, a little milk, melt some cheese, fold it into that spaghetti. It's not spaghetti. Then we're gonna fold it into that pasta. We're gonna bake it. Now, Peter Hemings, who was James's brother, and he was trained by James, actually made this dish for a White House dinner in 1802. And when he put it on the table, he said pie called macaroni. Soon, this would be a dish that would only be served to the rich and the elite. Now, this is 1802, but we're fixing to do 2026. Well, I done boiled me up some of them elbow macaronis. I went the cheap route. I hope Thomas don't mind, because this is more like the version that he would be liking. Melt 1 stick of butter. We're gonna add some flour, because we too have to make a roux. We have to make a cheese sauce. You wanna let that get really bubbled up and sort of frothy there, and you want it to brown just a little. But don't walk away from it and think you can't stir it, because you burn that flour and that stuff, you done ruined the whole pot. You gotta throw it out. So now it's time to add some cow milk. And just sit here and stir. You want it to thicken. We've been on about 5 or 6 minutes over about medium-low heat. Everything gets bubbled up, everything gets good and thick. This is the perfect opportunity to add a little flavor before we put in the cheese. And that is some coarse ground black pepper, a little salt, not much, because when you're adding cheese, cheese can sometimes be salty already. Remember that. Now, Thomas Jefferson, he did love him some nutmeg, and he would have dear James grind the fresh nutmeg to put in there. So we're gonna add a little. Now folks, if you've never done this with nutmeg, you're gonna be surprised, because when we did the Civil War macaroni and cheese, this brought about a lot of flavor. It don't take much. A sprinkling is a plenty. Give it another stir, and you can see how nice that has thickened up here. Ooh la la. And if it ever gets too thick, thin it with some milk. You're all right. Cheesy time it is. I have shredded Parmesan and shredded Romano. This was Jefferson's 2 favorite cheeses, and they were hard cheese that would keep, so very easy to use in this. Now, you want to reserve some of this cheese, because we got a sprinkle on top, so we're going to add about that much more. Save the rest. Stir this in till we get our cheese sauce to the desired consistency we need it. And then we're gonna fold it all together with them little elbow macaronis. Then we're gonna bake them both. We're gonna see which one I like best. Here's the part of James Hemings' story that most people never hear. He negotiated his own freedom. He told Jefferson, "Train someone else to cook the way I cook, and then let me go." Jefferson agreed. Hemings spent years training his younger brother Peter as a replacement, and he documented every recipe he knew, and walked out a free man in 1796. He was one of the first enslaved people in America to earn his freedom through a negotiated contract. He was 31 years old. Tragically, however, Hemings died at just 36. His only written legacy was an inventory of kitchen utensils and 4 recipes. History barely remembers his name until now.
So I had to jump in because I am a self-appointed macaroni and cheese connoisseur.
The expert.
Yes, so I'm excited about this. So what you did also is you added melted some cheddar cheese onto the James Hemings Jefferson version.
Yes.
And then you added a little more cheese on top of this and some breadcrumbs to your version.
Yes.
Okay, great. And then also, folks, if you watched our last video, we are in a burn ban. So that's why we had to cook these inside. We do not want to cause any issues. So anyway.
You're the first. I'm going to let you taste them both right off the bat.
Let me start with Hemings.
Okay.
Here's the thing, too. I don't discriminate with macaroni and cheese. Like, I like the box just as well as like a really fancy one. That is really good.
Yeah.
I like the noodle because it's kind of
like a dumpling nearly in a way.
It is, yeah. Why don't you try it? And it's got a creaminess with that roux that you made. Are you surprised? I don't know if I'm surprised, but the way those noodles were looking at the beginning, I was thinking,
Hey, don't let these clothes fool you. I can make a noodle.
Okay, let's try your version.
And this was all with white cheese, Parmesan and Romano. I am a fan of the sprinkle of nutmeg. I think it just makes it different.
I forgot. I was like, what is that? I forgot you added that in.
The breadcrumbs give it a little texture.
Little texture. I love a hard cheese.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
If I'm going to vote, I'm going to vote for this one.
Me too.
Because I just think the homemade pasta really adds the finishing touch to it because it's just, and you get I mean, this one's good. Don't get me wrong.
They're both good.
But this one has such a creamy texture to it.
It's creamier, yeah.
So we take one more bite because we got to have a little dancing.
Oh, okay.
I think if we'd have been at the White House, it would have been more like this.
Oh, you got cheese like all over your mouth.
Now, James Hemings never did get the credit he deserved for this recipe. But folks, you can give him that credit every time you have a plate or a bowl of macaroni and cheese sitting in front of you. You can say, "Thank you, James. I appreciate it." Now, this is the second video that we've done on celebrating America's 250th birthday. Now, if you didn't catch the first one, back up and go back there and watch the Johnny cakes because, folks, we're going through history a dish at a time to celebrate the greatest nation in the world. But it is with great pride, honor, and privilege that I tip my hat to all the servicemen and women and all the veterans that have kept that old flag a-flying. We commend you all we do, and we lift you up in prayer daily. Rest of you, get on up here. I'm going to do something I ain't never done before. I'll leave this hat right here. I'm going to put 2 hot in here because they're hot. I'm going to give you a macaroni and cheese hug that's going to be oh so good. I'm going to slap you on the head with them. God bless you each and every one, and we'll see you down the macaroni and cheese trail.